Hi everybody, I just wanted to show you how to do some Dawless transitions using the Pioneer RMX 500 or just really any device, and just how I change from one track to another. If you're familiar with the synth, the digitat, the digitone and any of the other electron devices or any other synthesizer you're using, if you're playing live you've got to be able to do transitions. You've got to have some way to get from one track to another, or at least warn, in some respects, alert the audience that you're going to change over and be prepared for the change. And I do it in a very, very simple, quick way, and I don't make it overcomplicated. I'm not looking for a seamless DJ change. I'm looking to prepare people for the next track and go, oh right, the next track's coming. You can also use it as an effects machine as well, which I do. And I'm going to start off by doing one thing and just showing you how I use it for a drop. Because when you're creating build-ups and drops, you've got to have some way of getting from one stage to the other. And what I do is I use the RMX 500. Now I just need to find the right the right track here. I'll find it in a second, if it won't take me too long, he says. Let me just find the right software here. Somebody's actually moved my notes, so my apologies here, but I'm going to, I've got it straight away, it's fine, I've got it. So I've got a track called Bleed, and that track here is always my opening track. But it has a build-up and a drop. So on the RMX 500, what I do first of all is, let me just go into track first of all. So just going to go into track and load it up. This is a drum machine, by the way, if you don't know what the syntax is. And I play my tracks by changing the patterns live. Just making sure it's working. So what I do on the RMX 500, hopefully you can see it all this side, that's my syntax, that's this machine here. Just one thing about this RMX 500 is it can actually find the BPM, but I just auto lock it, because on some occasions the machines can not find the BPM and they'll switch off. That's an unknown fact. I think you'll probably, if you Google it, you'll find out there. Anyway, so what I tend to do is on this one to just do a very, very simple drop and change over. Is I'm going to start and play the track. It'll probably take about a minute to get to the drop, and then I'll show you how I use the effects just for transitions, just so you've got double use. But the Pioneer RMX 500 is discontinued. It's not sponsored by Pioneer. I'm just trying to think about people using Dawless machines from synthesizers and playing live at either EMOMs, electronic music open mics, or playing in front of an audience, or going to a carnival, or going to a festival. So anyway, let's just get on with it really. So what I do first of all is I select the echo. That's the echo box. So the echo, it's got two echoes. That echo on the Pioneer means you can use it with another track. So or another effect. So I just use the LPHA. It's a low filter on it. So listen to how it sounds. So you can just hear exactly how that sounds. So let me just get on and I'll play the track. It takes about a minute and a half, 30 seconds to get to the drop, and then to see how I cope with a drop. It's so easy to do. So anyway, we're playing now, let's get on. So this track's called Bleed, it's been released now, so let's just play the track. So what we're going to do now is, I want you to explain something before I move on now. I just want to explain, I'm going to move on now and I'm going to play the track and I'm going to use the machine for the drop. So here we go. was just a very simple way. Now what I did then was, you saw, I had the project playing, I had the track before, and as it was getting ready to transfer to the track, which you can use on these 4 lights here, when it got to the 4th light, I actually brought the effect back. So what happened then was, during the build up, I actually increased, you can see what I'm doing now, I actually increased the effects of echo and the low pass filter. And then as I got ready for the drop, I just watched my lights. As soon as I got to 4th light, I actually pulled it back, which increased the sound, and the drop worked. I'll show you again. I'll show you very quickly again if you want. Just watch what I'm doing with this hand and just watch what happens. So that is very simply of how I've actually used the Pioneer FireMax to create a drop. Just create the effect up. The effect is taking sound and music away because of the echo and the low pass filter. And then when you're ready to get to the drop, just whip it straight back. You don't have to be perfect because you've got sound going on and you've got everything else, going on, in the meantime. So just enjoy what you're doing. Right. So how do I go from one transition to another? And what do I use for other effects? Well, the transition, I keep it very, very simple. I don't get overcomplicated, because when you're in front of an audience and you're playing live and you've got electrics and you've got lights and you've got everything else flashing in front of you, you need to be able to concentrate on the music. So here we go. I'll just end this track up. I'll just end this track on here. I'll just show you what I do here. Again, echo, and I've got the low pass filter set up. Echo and low pass filter. Here we go. So here we go. So all I did then was getting ready to move from one song, or from one part of the track, to the start of the new song. I moved from bleed rave to EBM, and all I did was I actually left the low pass filter on and the echo. You can use the echo with any of these effects, and just brought it up slightly. So the tracks are beginning to merge, because you're beginning to put a filter on your first track, and then the second one starts and plays, and then you can just slowly bring it, back in, and you've got a reasonable transition, and people are expecting something to happen. We're not talking about a perfectly DJ mix across, because you haven't got 1,000 songs to choose from. You've only got effectively, your own choice of music you've written yourself, and it doesn't make it complicated. Now, when it comes to using effects on this, again, do not really go crazy. So, for example, if I'm going to be doing a drum, if I've got a track with quite a nice drum beat in here, I will sometimes try to emphasize it on here by using the mod button to modulate the sound, to modulate the track. And so let me just give you an example. I'm going to have to find a random example here. We might just go on to After Party Live. Is that going to be a drum bit? I don't know. Let's just go on to After Party Live. Oh, now that is a drum. So that's a drum. I'll turn it out. So that's a decent old drum, that. So echo on, low pass filter off. Low pass filter is actually off. Press mod. So it's inactive. The RMX 500 is inactive at the moment, and all you do is this: you just turn it to mod and then push down on the control itself. If you get the RMX 500, sorry, RMX 1000, which is the next model from here, it's exactly the same, but you've got more options. Why have I got this one? Because it was cheap. I bought it off eBay for 250 quid. So I want to emphasise the drum. Here we go. So very simply, what I did then was just emphasise the drum. Now what I do is I don't tend to rehearse how I'm going to use the effects machine. I tend, in my own mind, just to think, right, a drum's coming in, a really hard drum beat is coming in. And what happens then was, I just go echo and mod. And then you're okay. We'll do it again if you want. We'll try and find another bit of a drum here. I don't know whether we can do it on EBM. Let's just try, see if we can find a decent drum beat. Oh. Again. So that's just another way. I think if you overcomplicate things by using the machine all the time, people just hear effects and people hear you trying. Sometimes it can blend really, really nice, you know, into what you're trying to play. You know, when I'm playing the Syntax, I have 8 different tracks, about 40 minutes of music, and I want to move between them, transition between them, quite nicely. The other trick I do as well is if I'm ready to play in front of an audience or ready to play in front of people, what I'll do then is, or even when I'm on YouTube, so I do live, live work on YouTube or Instagram and TikTok. By the way, you can see me on Instagram as well as The Last DJ. So what I'll do, if I'm going to start this track, we'll go back to this track called Dirt Bleed. We'll just actually, so we're going to go on there. So bearing in mind, this doesn't have to be the Syntax, doesn't have to be the Digitac, doesn't have to be the Digitone. Any synthesizer you want, just plug it straight in here and get it through the sound system. So this track here, when I'm going to start off and play to an audience, I'll start off with the echo on and then the low pass filter fully in its full position. So here we go. So if I'm going to start playing, very quiet. So that's how I actually open the track. I always have the filter ready, and it brings the sound in gently, and people are hopefully ready for the rest of the track you're going to play. Just one final thing I like to use on here. I don't go mad on here. I don't use the zip. I don't use the spiral down or reverb down. Sometimes I do use the noise, but we'll put the noise on and then spiral up. Reverb. I do use a spiral because if you've got a dirty, filthy techno track or industrial dance track, it does actually add to it. Let me try and find something which is really sort of like murky and dirty. What could we do here? I'm going to go right to the end of this page and just put Clocks on, which is another track, but that's got some unusual sounds in it. I'm going to put the spiral on there. So let's just go on to a different project load 106. There we go. Going to go to project 106, and then we're going to go on to the last track here. So you can hear how sort of like, it's got some very high tones on there, high frequencies, and so press the echo and then go straight into the spiral. And let's just see how that sounds if I put some spiral on there. So that just makes it a bit more interesting, it gives it a bit more expansion. One final thing I'll show you is the noise, although I very, very rarely use a noise because it can be so noisy. Let's just put some noise on here. sound too bad, to be honest. So hopefully that's been a nice demonstration on how to use the effects for transitions, for creating a drop and going drop, and then obviously transitions. I don't make it very complicated, because when it comes to playing live, playing in front of an audience, you're there to please. You're not there to get too complicated. It's not going to be too complicated making music. And the idea is you need to focus on playing either your machine, your synthesizer, to hopefully people can have a good time. Well, that's all it is now. And I'll play you out with another drop at the end, I think. Should we just do another drop? And I'm going to play you out with a drop of the track, which I think would be a bit of fun, shall we? Just play you out with shall we play? We'll play you out with Bleed again. We'll play out this track, yeah? Here we go.